Hey everyone, I am your astrologer Wonder Girl, helping you to live in tune with the natural cycles of the moon. This is your astrology horoscope for the new moon solar eclipse in Taurus, which occurs on Saturday, April 30th, 2022 at 4:28 p.m. Eastern Time or 1:28 p.m. Pacific Time. Now, what I think is going on at this new moon solar eclipse in Taurus is that we are finally releasing a lot of old difficult things with relationships and money and stepping into a new and better chapter in life and situation with these things that we actually like and that can be more publicly seen and that feels more fertile and more abundant. And because of that, we're now trying to figure out how to better manage these new experiences in life and move forward on them in a way that is stable and secure and will last the test of time that I think we're figuring out. So that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. If you want to hear more about that, please do stay tuned. Before I hop into that though, I did just want to let you all know that I recently launched some new merchandise for the moon, for what I do. And if you'd like to go check some of that out, please do. We've got some mugs here that I created. I love mugs. I have so many. This one says living in tune with the moon's natural cycles. We've got some moon tribe stuff. I've also got some t-shirts here. I tried to channel my inner indie kid when I used to be super into music and bands for some of these. But feel free to go check them out. The link to this is wondergirlstyle.com. They're on Teespring, but you can visit wondergirlstyle.com and check those out if you're interested. We've got also some stickers there too. I think you can purchase and some other things, but please do take a look. I've been doing this astrology thing online for about 5 years now. So I'm really just trying to figure out how to take my business to the next level. I think that's what this whole year is going to be about for me. And merchandise is one of the things that I'm planning on doing among some other things too. So hopefully we'll get some classes and courses out to you soon, but please check that out. And thank you so much to those of you who have supported me over the years. I really do appreciate it a lot. Now, let's go ahead and let's hop into this video. In order to get started, what I like to do first is to just place it on the chart so that you can see what it is that I'm referring to here and so that you can follow along with me. So let me do that now. This video is for the new moon solar eclipse in Taurus. Because of that, I've adjusted my chart accordingly. Here is the new moon. I know that this is the new moon because we've got the moon and the sun here together at the same degree in the same sign, which makes the new moon. And I know that it's an eclipse because we do have both the sun and the moon in the same sign here as the north node, which is also in Taurus. And the nodal axis here is the point upon which eclipses occur. So that's what makes it an eclipse. It's not a total eclipse because it's still a good, 12 degrees away, the new moon from the nodal axis, but it is an eclipse nonetheless, even though it's partial. Okay, now what does this mean exactly? Well, new moons are all about new beginnings, new energy, and fresh starts, and solar eclipses basically superpower that and make that a super big, a super significant here, new moon, new energy, and fresh start that it is that we are getting. Okay, what super big energy, new energy, fresh start are we getting here? Taurus, because that's the sign here that the new moon is in. What is Taurus all about? Well, Taurus is an earth sign. Let's start there. It does have to do with our tangible reality. Not only is Taurus an earth sign that has to do with our tangible reality, but it also has to do with our senses. What I think there's 6 of them. Touch, hear, taste, smell, see, that kind of thing. So what does that mean to me? It means to me that at this new moon solar eclipse in Taurus, we're getting a significant new boost to work with our tangible reality and the things that we can see, touch, hear, taste, and smell in some kind of way. Not only that, but Taurus, to me, being an earth sign and really correlated to the land and the earth, has a lot to do with fertility and abundance. So what that means to me is that not only here at this new moon solar eclipse in Taurus are we getting like a huge boost to work with our physical, tangible reality in some kind of way, but we're getting a big boost to work with our tangible reality to make it more fertile and more abundant here in the way that we need from here on out. Okay, not only that, but Taurus to me does have to do with stability and security, being a feminine sign ruled by Venus. which a lot of times contributes to fertility and abundance. So what does that mean to me? It means to me that not only at this new moon solar eclipse in Taurus are we getting a huge boost to work with our physical, tangible reality here in a more fertile and abundant way, but we're also getting a huge boost to make it more stable and more secure, and to figure out how to do that here as we move forward. Okay, not only that, but Taurus is a lot about the things that we have at our disposal currently. These can be gifts, skills, and talents that we have, or they can be possessions, right? Things that we own and things like that. So not only at this new moon solar eclipse in Taurus are we getting a huge new energy and new boost here to work with our physical, tangible reality in some kind of way to make it more fertile, more abundant, more stable, and more secure, but we're also getting a big boost to work with what we currently have right now at our disposal in order to make that happen. In order to bring more of these things together. Okay, not only that, but Taurus is also a sign of confidence in ourselves, in our abilities, and what we have. So I think we're also getting a huge boost to become more confident as well in this process, and in what we now have, and in how we're going to work through things from here on out. Perhaps the next, and I think the last thing I'll say for now about Taurus is that it also has to do with our value systems, the things that we value and the things that are truly important to us from here on out. So I think not only are we getting a big boost at this new moon solar eclipse in Taurus to work with our physical, tangible reality here, and to make it more fertile and more abundant and more stable and more secure, and to use what we currently have at our disposal in order for that to happen and to be more confident in it, but to make sure that all of that is really aligning with our needs, with our values, and with the things that are important to us from here on out, so that it can be more solid. Okay. And I think that's all that I want to say for now about the major themes of this new moon solar eclipse in Taurus. Okay. But before I move forward to give you more details about how that is going to play out more specifically over the course of the next few days, weeks, and potentially months, because solar eclipses to me do have an impact that lasts for some time. 6 months is usually a safe bet until the next, lunar eclipse, new moon, solar eclipse and lunar eclipse happens here. So before I move forward to tell you how it's going to play out over time, I do want to go backwards in time just for a minute before I go forwards. And I want to go backwards in time in order to give you more of the context of how we got here and of why these themes are now coming up to be worked through, lived, felt, experienced in some kind of way. And to do that, I'm going to go back a good bit, actually, till about at the beginning of 2020. If you would like to stay for this, please do. But if you've heard this plenty of times, feel free to skip ahead in this video. I've put the links and the chapters here in the description box so that you can navigate to whatever point you would like in this video here. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to dive in. I'm going to go back to a significant alignment that happened in between January to April of 2020. At that time, we had Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter all come conjunct right here at the later degrees of Capricorn. What was that about? Well, Pluto is about change. Jupiter, being the biggest planet in our solar system, is about big change. And Saturn, which correlates to Capricorn, is about the structure of our lives. So what does that mean to me? It means to me that in between January to April of 2020, we realized we needed to make very big, sweeping change in the structure of our lives. And I think we realized we needed to make big change with that because what we had been experiencing for many months and years prior and decades was not really that great and was not that pleasant for us, especially since Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto are not the best of friends, or not the easiest planets, and take a few decades to all come together to meet each other. Okay, I think that's what happened then. But even though in January to April of 2020, we realized something ain't right here in our lives that needs to be changed, I don't think we actually made the moves, took the initiative in order to change these things until about October of that same year, 2020. And in October of 2020, I think something happened in our lives to motivate, inspire, trick us to finally do the thing that we really knew we needed to do in January to April of 2020 in order to overcome old hard times and move forward. And because something in October of 2020 motivated, inspired, tricked us to get things into gear here and to get things going, at the next solar eclipse after that in December of 2020, which is right about here in Sagittarius, we finally then started to do the things here to remove old things from our lives that we no longer wanted anymore or resonated with or didn't like, and to bring more new, different, and better things into our lives from here on out. Okay, that's what we did there. And that's what I should note took all of 2021 to do. It wasn't an easy process. It took all, I'm just going to group this together. It took all of 2021 now for us to more fully kick out the old things, habits, mindsets, people, places, and bring new and different and better things into our lives here. And it wasn't necessarily, the most fun and the fastest one either. But even though it wasn't fun and it wasn't fast and it took a whole year to do, I believe when we got to the beginning of this year, January of 2022, right? There was a new moon in Capricorn right about here. We then finally started to feel like we had done enough. We had done a good bit, enough. Yeah, that's the best word to use here, to more fully end old things and step into a new chapter. And we started to see it arrive more and more and more new, different, better experiences in the way that it is that we needed, which was very good. But even though we started to see new and better experiences finally come together in January 2022, I think when we got to the next new moon in Aquarius in February of 2022, we realized that maybe there were still a few things that needed to be adjusted and needed to be tweaked from the past that we still didn't do correctly in order to move things forward. And so I think we made some moves in February 2022 to fix more things, to get more going here on this new and better chapter in life, and to refine it more, if you will, which was very, very helpful. So that the next new moon in Pisces in March of 2022, we actually felt like here we were able to release old things and move forward in the ways that we needed. But even though in March of 2022, we were finally feeling much better about moving forward, I think some emotional anxiety and fears still started to creep in about what it is that we were doing here and about what was going on. That was hard. So what happened at the very end here of March is that we ended up having to learn how to address those lingering fears about the new chapter in life and to protect ourselves, to make ourselves feel safe enough in order to move forward. And I do believe that we did that. And because we did that, then at the next new moon, which was in Aries here in April 2022, which is the astrological new year, here, what I think then happened is that we finally started to feel more like all the ways ready, not just a little bit ready, not just kind of ready, not just ready in some ways, but we finally started to feel in all the ways ready to now embrace a new and better chapter in life that had really been in the works since January to April of 2020 here. Not only did we finally start to more fully be ready to embrace the new and better chapter in life, but I think we started to make even more moves to bring even more new things together, especially with relationships and money. And because finally, that new moon in Aries kicked us into gear to make us ready, we now get to this new moon solar eclipse in Taurus, which is what this video is for right here, also in April, but almost in May here. And what this new moon solar eclipse in Taurus is all about is about us finally seeing the new and better chapter in life that we've been working on for quite some time manifest in a physical, tangible way that we can see, touch, hear, smell, and taste. Not only is it about us finally here stepping into a new and better chapter in life in a real, tangible way that we can see, touch, hear, taste, smell, but it's also about us trying to figure out now how to sustain this new and better chapter in life here and make it even more fertile and more abundant so that it can last the test of time here and be with us for a while and not just be a passing influence. Not only is this new moon solar eclipse in Taurus about that, us seeing the new and better chapter in life and trying to figure out how to sustain it in a way that's going to work and be fertile and abundant, but it's also about us trying to get more confident in this new and better chapter in life here, to align it better to our needs and our values, and to figure out now how to work with it, what we already have, now that the new and better chapter in life is here, in order to maneuver it in the ways that it is that we need. Okay. Yeah. To be more secure. All right. And that's it. Because that's all I'm going to say there. I'm now just going to repeat all of those things one more time without the astrological jargon so you can get a better sense of what I think is happening. So let me do that now. What I think is going on, the big picture now of this new moon solar eclipse in Taurus, is that finally a new and better chapter in life that we've been working towards since the beginning of 2020 has finally arrived in a real physical, tangible way that we can see, touch, hear, taste, and smell. And because of that, we're now trying to figure out how to better sustain this new chapter in life that has arrived and to make it more fertile, more abundant, more solid, more secure, and more in alignment with ourselves, our needs, and our values here by working with it and where we currently have better. Okay, and that's it. That's all I want to say there. Because that's it, I'm now going to move into some of the specific astrological alignments that are going on here at this new moon solar eclipse itself. Okay, to do that, though, I think I'm actually going to start with a few larger alignments that are going on before I zoom in more specifically on the aspects that this solar eclipse in Taurus is making. And I think I'm going to zoom out to some of the larger alignments because there are a few significant ones in addition to the significant solar eclipse going on here. So I'm going to do that. I also want to note that as I talk about these other larger alignments that are going on, I may repeat some of the things that I just said and just went over, but I'm going to do it because I know that a lot of you are curious about some of these larger alignments and what they mean and what I think on them, and to catch you all up and to make sure we're all on the same page here. So I'm going to do that. And the first one I'm going to talk about is going to be this one, Neptune and Jupiter here in a conjunction in Pisces now with Venus here, as you can see, all three of them. And it's good to know that Venus is the ruler of this new moon solar eclipse in Taurus because the new moon eclipse is in Taurus, which correlates to Venus. Okay, what is this all about? Well, I'm going to start here and say this is a very beautiful, positive, and rare alignment. Okay, very beautiful because Neptune, Venus, and Jupiter, the three planets that are involved here, all love to be in Pisces the most. They love to be in Pisces more than any other sign here. Neptune is the natural ruler of Pisces. Jupiter was also the natural ruler of Pisces before Neptune was discovered here, and Venus is exalted in the sign of Pisces. So they all love to be here. And when planets love to be in a sign, they do tend to function better there than they would elsewhere and bring more helpful experiences and events. Okay, so that's why it's so beautiful. This is rare now because these planets do not come conjunct in this sign of Pisces that often. Neptune is a further out planet and therefore has a weirder, longer orbit. Okay, which doesn't put it in the sign of Pisces that often. And then it takes Jupiter time to meet it and Venus time to get there as well. So this is not that often that this occurs. As a matter of fact, the last time Jupiter and Neptune met each other was 1856. Okay, so no one on the planet alive has currently experienced this alignment here that's going on. Okay, what is the very beautiful, positive, rare thing that's going on here? Well, Pisces, which is the sign they're all in, which is the sign they all love, that they all function well in. Pisces is a lot about releasing the past, being the last sign of the zodiac here, the 12th sign. Not only is it about releasing the past, but it's also about healing, especially emotionally, with it being a water sign as well. Not only that, but Pisces is also about wisdom and understanding here about ourselves and our situation. It's also too about wisdom and understanding that usually comes from the divine and from our intuition and from the spiritual realms. Okay, not only is it about that, but I also do consider it about divine help and gifts and synchronicities as well. And Venus is there, which has to do with relationships, money, and our own sense of self. And so is Jupiter, which does have to do with like new experiences and good luck. So what does this mean to me is going on here with this alignment at the time of this new moon solar eclipse in Taurus? It means to me that at this solar eclipse, we are experiencing a very rare and significant time in our lives, so like no one has ever experienced before, to release a lot of old hurtful baggage, especially with relationships and money that has been bringing us down for quite some time. And not only to release it in a lot of ways, but to heal, to actually heal from it in a way that we're feeling better and more at peace about. Not only is this alignment bringing major release of old excuse me, of old hard things and major healing as a result here. But I also think it's bringing major understanding, wisdom, and clarity, especially from our intuition in the higher realms about what we went through and why, and perhaps about what is next for us as well. Okay, not only is this alignment bringing that, but it's also too, I think, bringing new and different experiences. So not only a release of old hard things with relationships and money that have been a challenge and healing from that, but it's also bringing us stepping into new and better situations with relationships, with money, within ourselves, that also feel more in alignment with the divine, and that we feel more supported by the divine and by the spiritual realms here in order to make happen and in order to manifest in some way, shape, or form that is putting us at peace and that is putting us at ease here as we move onwards. Okay. Not only that, but I should also note too that this is also helping us to connect more with the higher power and to align, right, with the divine, with the universe, with spirit, with the angels as well as we move forward, which is wonderful here. Okay, I really do like it. Now, could this feel a little bit disorienting? Sure, Pisces does tend to dissolve things, especially when we're having such a major shift out of old things and into another. So it could feel a bit disorienting for some of you. It could feel still a little bit hazy and a little bit unclear because sometimes Neptune can do that. But even though it may be a little bit disorienting about how much is shifting and a little bit unclear in what ways things are shifting in the process, make no mistake, this is meant to be a very, very good thing. And that when the dust settles, I think something very, very positive is going to come from it here, especially as well with the next significant alignment that I want to note, which is Pluto here. Pluto in the days before the solar eclipse in Taurus stationed to go retrograde, as you see it here red in the sign of Capricorn. This, I should note, is the first planet to actually go retrograde since they've all been direct, since about February of this year. What is that about? Well, when a planet stations to appear to change direction, it's an optical illusion. Retrogrades are an optical illusion, but when a planet stations to then appear to change direction here, it does bring extra emphasis to that planet and to what it's all about, and to what it all means and signifies here. And Pluto is the planet of permanent change and permanent transformation, not passing change. That's more a Gemini thing, but permanent change and permanent transformation here. And Capricorn is also an earth sign like Taurus, and it rules the highest part of the chart, which is the public part of the chart that everyone can see. So what does this mean to me at the time of this new moon solar eclipse in Taurus? Okay, it means to me here that we're experiencing a major release and healing of old, hard things with relationships, money, and our sense of self here to clean the slate of that. And we're experiencing, I think, a major, rare, new, and better beginning to move forward in a new and different way with relationships and money that's healthier and that's more in tune with ourselves and more aligned and more supported by the divine and by the universe and by the spirit and by the angels here. And that is becoming permanent. Right? That is a permanent change. It's a permanent transition here that we've really been working towards for quite some time. And not only is it a permanent change and a permanent transition, but it's one that we're going to start to see more and more publicly. If you haven't seen it already, we're going to start to see more and more publicly, more openly here by ourselves and other people now and in the days and months after this new moon solar eclipse in Taurus here, that again, I think is supposed to be better for us to put our lives, Capricorn, in a different direction here that we've been working towards. Okay, that I like. Again, because this feel intense. Yes, Pluto is intense. Pisces can be a little disorienting. Can this feel a little bit intense and disorienting? Yes. So many things are ending and beginning and so many things are changing. Yeah. Could there be a lot of emotion surrounding this? Yes. Pisces is a water sign, emotional. Pluto is very emotional as well. So being correlated naturally to Scorpio. So yes. Very overwhelming, intensely emotional, a bit disorienting, but I think very, 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 very good to help us move forward. And I think we've been trying to get here for a while. That then leads me now to the next alignment that I want to mention here, Mercury. Mercury just recently entered the sign of Gemini, also in the days before this solar eclipse in Taurus around the same time. Pluto itself went retrograde. Not only did Mercury recently enter Gemini, but it itself is also slowing down. It is now in pre-retrograde shadow, about to go retrograde in Gemini over the course of the next few days or week after this. Okay, what is that all about? Well, I do like some things about this because Mercury is at home in Gemini. It's the sign it's correlated to, where it really likes to be, and therefore is also going to function more helpfully. Okay, so I do think that this is helpful. What is this about? Well, both Mercury and therefore Gemini are about thinking and communicating with ourselves and other people. Not only that, but Gemini is a very curious sign. It's about gathering information, I think, here to kind of better understand things. Not only that, but Gemini is also really about what's familiar to us. It correlates to our communities, our neighborhoods. It's about what things are familiar to us, like we know like the back of our hand here. So what does this mean to me? It means to me so far at this new moon solar eclipse in Taurus, there is a lot going on to release old relationships, old money situations, an old sense of self that was unhealthy, that we didn't like, and to heal from that so that we can finally step into a new, different, and better experience with relationships and money and our sense of self more permanently and more publicly seen. That's more in alignment with our soul and with the divine here. And it's a lot going on. It's very big. It's very rare. It's very overwhelming here. And we're having a lot of thoughts, the best that we can, in conversations with other people, especially the people that are involved. And we're having a lot of thoughts and conversations with ourselves and with other people here in order to better understand what's going on here and understand what this change is and what's happening. And in order to better understand, I think, how to adapt, Gemini being a mutable sign, how to adjust to it and how to settle into it and make it more familiar here so that we can work with it. Not constantly make changes to do new things. That's more of a Sagittarius thing, but of how we can take what we have now and adapt to that, what is currently coming into our lives, and to work with that in a much, much better way. Okay, that's what we're trying to figure out. Now, have we figured that out right now? No, Mercury still needs to go retrograde in this spot. So we haven't done all the thinking and all the talking and gathered all the information that we need about our situation in order to better adapt and adjust to it and figure out how to work with where we are now. But we're starting to realize, we're starting to realize at this time that things are shifting out of old into new and different situations, and that we got to learn how to work with it now, and that we got to adapt to it and more fully settle into it, which I think is a good process to start. Okay, right now, that then leads me to the actual solar eclipse, which is where we started this video, which is going to be right here, the new moon, 10 degrees Taurus here, and it's going to be making a conjunction to Uranus, okay, as you can see it right here. What is that all about? Well, Uranus, I should say, doesn't like to be in the sign of Taurus. And this can be a bit of a challenge as a result. But even though Uranus doesn't like to be in the sign of Taurus, Taurus still does try to keep things together. And Taurus is a sign of abundance, and it is a sign of fertility at the end of the day. So even though Uranus doesn't like to be in Taurus, and I think will cause problems later this year at the solar eclipse in Scorpio, I think for now we're going to try to keep it together here and to get more of a little bit more of a helpful expression of this. So I'm going to interpret it a little bit in that way. What is that? Well, Uranus is the planet of the sudden and unexpected. Could be a sudden and unexpected event in the physical, but could also be a sudden and unexpected insight or a sudden and unexpected realization here. And it's in Taurus, which does have a lot to do with, again, better situations, more abundant and fertile situations manifesting in reality, and more stability and more security. So what does this mean to me to continue bringing it together? It means to me that so far at this new moon solar eclipse in Taurus, the way I've been explaining it in this video, we have finally more fully released a lot of old junk and old issues with relationships and money. We don't want no more. And we have healed from those. And we're starting to step more into new and better experiences with relationships, money, and our sense of self that are more aligned with our divine, with the divine and our highest purpose and our highest truth. And it's starting to become more publicly seen in a real, tangible way here, and more permanent as we move forward. It's a bit overwhelming by how much is changing, and it's a bit disorienting here. That's going on in this process. But even though so much is finally shifting in a big, big way that's positive, even though it's a bit overwhelming and disorienting, we are trying to have a lot of thoughts and a lot of conversations with ourselves and other people and the people who are involved about this big change that's going on and all this crazy stuff that's happening in order to better understand it, adjust to it, and figure out how to work with it, which is going to take us more time to do. Exactly. But by us thinking and talking about it to figure everything out, we then suddenly and unexpectedly start to realize here that we're actually in a good place. We suddenly and unexpectedly start to realize that after all we've been through and after how long it's freaking taken us for it to get here and about how crazy everything has been, that we're actually in a good place, and that where we now have currently started to arrive at this time has a lot of potential to really grow in a more fertile and abundant way that it is that we need. Not only are we suddenly and unexpectedly realizing that where we are now is actually pretty good here, and has a good opportunity to become more fertile and abundant, but we're also seeing more things come together in a more solid way that we didn't realize could occur here, in order for us to feel more together. Not only that, but with Taurus being a sign of stability, we're also realizing too unexpectedly that not only are we now actually in a pretty good place and more things are coming together to help us manifest a new experience in life that's more solid, that's more stable, and that's more secure, but we're realizing that because now new experiences are coming together, we don't need to make as many changes as we have been making over the course of the past year, especially, and I think even longer than that. We don't need to make any more changes. We don't need to make any more big, crazy moves and shifts. Why? Because we're now where we want to be. And we're now in a good place. And we're now where we've been trying to get to for so long. And when you're now in a better place, you don't need to do as many new things because you like what you have. Okay, so I think we're also realizing that here at this time as well, which I think is very, very, very good. Not only are we realizing that, but we're also realizing too, with the Mercury retrograde, with the Taurus influence, that now that we're in a good place, finally here, and it's actually coming together, not only in our mind, but also in a tangible way, where now we don't have to constantly change and shift as much anymore, but we're also realizing that because of that, because things are finally coming together in a way we didn't expect, that's better than we would have thought, we're realizing that now we have to figure out what to do with the damn thing. Now we got to figure out what to do with these new relationship experiences, these new money experiences that are better for us, so that we can make sure, Taurus, that they're going to last the test of time and that we don't squander them here, or that they don't go wrong, they don't go awry here, and so that they continue to move onwards in the ways that it is that we need. Okay, I do think that this is a good thing here. But even though it's a good thing, again, Uranus can be a little startling. I do think that it's a little bit startling. We're like, oh shoot, oh shoot, all this crazy stuff is going on in my life, and it's everything, and now finally the dust is settling, and I'm unexpectedly seeing that I'm in a good place and things are working out. But now I gotta, but I didn't know I was here. I didn't know things were gonna be this good, and now I gotta figure out what to do with it. Now I gotta figure out what to do with this stuff, right? And I think that it's a little bit startling here. I think it's also a little bit startling too, not only because I think things are actually turning out better. I need to note that. with the Jupiter, Venus, Neptune and Pisces and the Taurus influence, not only are we startled and surprised here because things are, I think, turning out a lot better than we thought they would turn out, but I think we're also startled and surprised because if I can be quite honest with you, I don't think we know how to sustain a new and better chapter in life. We don't know how to do that. We don't know how to make a new and better chapter in life more fertile, more abundant, more aligned with our needs and values. We don't know how to do that. Why don't we know how to do that? Because we've been stuck in an old bad chapter of our life for quite some time that we didn't like, that we were trying to get out of, that required a whole different skill set. So we don't know. We don't know how to deal with things we actually like for a change and how to make those work. So I think we're also very startled about that. Like, oh shoot, I didn't realize things were good and now things are actually good and they're coming together. But oh my gosh, now I have to figure out like how to sustain these things and how to make them better. And that's good, right? It's a good opportunity, but I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing here. That can be a little bit of a challenge here. But even though that's a challenge, like I'm just super optimistic with this energy. I just really am. So even though that's a challenge, I think that we are going to be okay. We're going to be okay about this experience and about what's happening. And that's because of, I think, the next and the last alignment that I want to mention really in this video. And that's going to be this new moon solar eclipse in Taurus making a sextile over here to Mars in Pisces. Okay, this is a good alignment here because it's a sextile. And I always interpret a sextile in a positive way because it's, it's an aspect between planets and two signs of complementary elements. So I do like this. What is this about here? Well, Mars is in Pisces. Pisces is a lot about just feeling at peace here, especially in the moment, enjoying the moment a lot of ways, especially if a lot of old things are finally leaving and new things are beginning. Not only is it about that, but Pisces is a lot about patience. It's a lot about patience with the process, with ourselves. It's also about compassion with the process and with ourselves. And not only that, but it's also about connecting more, even more with the divine and even more with spirit and even more with our intuition. So what does that mean to me? It means to me, yeah, a lot of crazy things are going on at the solar eclipse, right? Finally, old bad stuff is ending, new and better stuff are coming together, and it's becoming more real, more permanent, bigger here in a way we didn't expect it to be. And we're trying to figure out how to work with it to make it more solid and more secure and to settle into it. We don't know how to do it, even though we're in a good place here, which is uncomfortable. But even though that's the case, we are being patient with the process and just enjoying the process. I think naturally allowing ourselves to do that, and we're relying more and tuning even more into need to tune into even more to our intuition and the divine now in order to guide us through, in order to help us figure these things out, right? Because if we've never made, if we don't know how to make a new situation stable and secure, then the divine probably does, right? Our intuition probably does, the universe probably does. So we're becoming more trusting and more open to the divine, our intuition, even more than we already have been, to better help us figure out how to make these decisions in the ways that we need to move on. Okay. And I think that's it. That's all I want to say there because that's it. I'm now just going to repeat all of those things one more time without the astrological jargon so you can get a better sense of what I think is going on here. So let me do that now. What I think is going on at this new moon solar eclipse in Taurus is that old, hard situations with relationships, money, and our sense of self are finally releasing themselves and leaving, and we're finally healing from those things. And new and better situations with relationships, money, and our own sense of self are actually now finally starting to fall into place with more of a hand from the divine in order to do so. It is it feels like a lot. It feels like a lot. It is a lot. It feels very overwhelming in a lot of ways. And we may be perhaps a bit emotional about it. But even though it's a lot and it's very overwhelming, I think we're doing our best to try to keep, to try to figure it out, to try to figure out here what is going on here and to parse through information so that we can settle into it. And the more that we're trying to think about our situation and what's changing and how it's changing and in what way, I think we suddenly and unexpectedly start to realize that we're actually pretty damn good. good, better than we thought we could ever be, given what's been going on in our lives for quite some time here. It's good within our soul. It's good externally in our lives coming together here. And I think that that is very nice, helping us to realize that finally, for a change, we want what we have. And we don't need to make so many different moves and experiences to get things anymore, because we've actually arrived somewhere that it is that we like, which is beautiful. But as we start to realize that we're actually in a very good place for a change now, unexpectedly, once all the dust settles and that things are coming together, we then get, I think, a little worried. Maybe that's the way to put it. We get a little worried and a little bit nervous and a little bit startled, because we don't know how to take this new and better chapter in life that's finally here and make it solid and make it secure and make it more abundant and make it last the test of time here. Which is a bit uncomfortable. But even though that's uncomfortable, we don't linger in that uncomfortableness, because things are good. Things are good and things are turning out well in a way that we feel at peace about. Not only do we not linger in that uncomfortableness because things are turning out well, but because I think we're more patient now and more compassionate now with ourselves and with our situation, since things are turning out. And also too, because I think we're now more connected to our intuition and our divine and the divine and universe than we have been in a very, very long time. And because we're more connected in our intuition and the universe and the divine than we have been for a very, very long time, we are now trusting that. We are trusting that more to give us the insights that we need and to fill in the gaps and information that we don't have in order to help us better navigate this new and better experience in life that is now here and is now arriving. Okay. And I think that's it. Any other notes that I want to add? Yeah, maybe I'll say it in a different way here. We have been arriving in a new and better chapter in life for a while, okay, at least since April of 2020. But I think what's been going on over the course of the past 2 years at least is that the new chapter in life has been hazy, hasn't fully been revealed yet, or if it has been revealed, it's only been revealed in piecemeal. Well, what I think is going on at this new moon solar eclipse in Taurus is that all of that dust, and like the dust and the confusion from the course of the past few months and years is still around, but it's starting to settle. Like in my mind, I'm seeing like a huge dust storm from the course of the past few years that all of a sudden dissipates and stops. And so I think that that's what's happening now, is all the dust and confusion and haze. This solar eclipse is starting to settle. And what we're realizing, this solar eclipse, once the dust settles, which is happening around this time that you're watching this video, we're realizing that the dust has settled and that now we can see clearly and that we're actually in a good spot. That when the dust has settled, we actually did a lot of what we needed to do to be into a better place unexpectedly, and that it's a reality now, and that it's here, and that we landed in a very, very good place. But even though the dust is finally settling now, and we're realizing unexpectedly we did a good thing and that things are coming together, there is now some uncertainty of what do I do now that the dust has settled? What do I do now that the dust has settled and I'm in a good place to make this better and to make this more secure? Because I didn't realize I was maybe as far along as I was here, and because I've never been in this situation before, to maneuver this in the ways that we need here, that startles us a little bit. But that doesn't get the best of us, because now we're more connected to our intuition and the divine and are more able to go with that. So I think that's what I wanted to say now, to just say it simply, I guess, in a more human terms, and to give you that metaphor. I think that's what's going on. The dust now is finally settling from the past few months and years here to reveal that we're actually in a good place. That's very fertile, that's very abundant, and in doing different and that now we have to figure out how to sustain that we don't know really how to, that we got to rely on our intuition and the divine to work out. Okay. I also like that metaphor as well, because, sometimes before the dust can settle, like it has to kick up a bit. So not only like has the dust been going on over like a big, huge dust storm over the course of the past 2 years, but I think that the dust is still stormy until it unexpectedly clears in the days after that. So I just wanted to make that connection there. What else do I want to say? Okay. I think the other thing that I just want to emphasize here is not only is the dust finally settling this time period to reveal that we're in a good place, but that we now need to figure out how to make this place stable and secure. And one of the major ways to do that is to trust our intuition and the divine in order to make that happen. Okay. Because we've never been in, I don't think a lot of us have been in this new and better place before, right? And because we don't know really how to make something new and better work and last the test of time, I think a lot of us do need to connect even more to our intuition and the divine in a really high, pure place in order to figure that out, because I think that's going to give us the answers that it is that we need. Okay, another thing that I want to note as well is that we're probably not going to figure out how to sustain this, and we're probably not going to get all the messages that we need from spirit, right? And from our intuition about how to sustain this new stuff now that the dust is settled right now. Even though we're connecting with the divine right now, and that's the advice I'm giving you, you need to be aware that you're probably not going to get the answers from the divine about how to sustain this place and make it more solid. I want to say until like the full moon in Sagittarius, which is like a month and a half away, because Sagittarius is a lot about wisdom, also, you know, being similar to Pisces and understanding, and it's going to be by the time Mercury is going to be direct. So I also want to prepare you for that connecting with spirit and intuition is the only way right now, I think, to figure out how to sustain this new, better chapter in life that has now arrived when the dust settles. But that spirit and intuition is not going to tell you everything at once. I think it's going to take another month and a half for spirit to do that. Okay, why do I think it's going to take another month and a half for us to get the insights from spirit? Not because like spirit doesn't know them, right? And universe, and not that spirit, universe doesn't want to tell us, but I think because we need to get used to this with the Mercury retrograde and Gemini and Taurus. Like, we need to get used to this different space, and we need to get our bearings here. We need to get a little bit of the lay of the land so that we're not so stressed or up in arms about things. And I think us doing that is also going to prepare the way for spirit to communicate as we move forward. So I also want to say that as well, right? The dust is the dust is finally settling now from the past few months and years. It's a little crazy at first, but we're realizing once the dust settles unexpectedly that what is being revealed is something actually very beautiful and actually quite nice. Here that we feel is very fertile and abundant here, both internally, spiritually, emotionally, and also physically, in a way we can see, touch, hear, and smell and feel, which is very good. But even though the dust is settling and something unexpectedly very beautiful is going on, we're startled because we don't really know what to do next. We don't really know how to take this experience that we now have and to move it forward, because we've never really been especially not in a long time, this new and better way. And in order for us to figure out how to maneuver it forward, the only thing we can do right now is to connect even more with our intuition and with the divine and with spirit to guide us forward. And intuition and divine and universe and the angels and spirit are not really going to give us the answers until probably about a month and a half from now. And it's not because angels, universe, spirit doesn't know the answer. It's not that they don't want to give it to us. I think it's because of us, because we need more time in order to get used to this space so that we can become more of a clear channel for the divine to speak through us about what is going on here, okay, and how to handle it. So I think that's what's happening. The other thing I want to note too is that once we do eventually hear divine, spirit, universe, angels, whatever word, God, whatever word you want to use, when we do hear that more clearly a month and a half from now, I should note, I think that just to give you the sneak peek, to give you the preview here, I think what God, spirit, universe, the angels are going to tell us here is that we need to go very slow. Right? We need to go slow. If you're doing something new you haven't done before, like, you need to take your time so that you don't screw things up or skip steps. So I think that's what spirit is going to eventually tell us a month from now, is like, you got to slow down and not skip steps here and take your time to bring things together to make sure that you're doing it right, especially because Taurus is a slow sign. It's a slow sign where the solar eclipse ruled by Venus. Here it's an earth sign. It's fixed. It's one of the slowest of the slow. It's one of the slower signs here. So, but it's slow for a reason, because if you want to build something right, you got to do it slow, right? That's why Taurus is the second sign of the zodiac comes after Aries. It takes what Aries started and it sustains it. And it says, Aries, you made all these beautiful seeds during spring, start to grow. Now I'm going to make your seed grow right, to actually last. And slowness is part of that here. So I think it's going to tell us, Spirit's going to tell us that. What else do I think Spirit is going to tell us too? I think Spirit is going to tell us too, you have to understand yourself, Taurus, your needs and your values, and you can't sacrifice those away because you want something now. You want something fast. You want something in this way. Spirit's going to tell us you got to take things slow here, and you can't sacrifice your needs and values, and you have to recognize red flags when you see them, and you have to address them. Not now, a month and a half from now, but I think that's one of the things that Spirit's going to tell us. Go slow, honor your needs, honor your values here, make sure that that is good, okay? I think that Spirit's also going to tell us too to be a bit more practical. You know, to me, Taurus being an earth sign is very sensible here, to be very practical about these things that it is that we're doing, to be more realistic about what will and won't work here and the ways that it is that it needs, and to take small steps instead of big ones, and to take smaller steps that are more tried and true here, you know, classic, in order to move things forward. So that's what I want to say here. Like, we're eventually, Spirit's eventually going to give us insights. It's going to be later though. And what Spirit's eventually going to tell us, go slow, don't skip steps, pay attention to your values here. Here, be very realistic and practical, take small steps. I think what Spirit's also going to tell us is to do more of what we need first instead of what we actually want. That's going to be best for our situation here, and to ask a lot of questions with some of the Gemini influence here, to ask a lot of questions and to gather the information that it is that we need as we move forward, okay? But we're not going to get it now, but that's what we're going to get, and to prepare for that, okay? Because, which I imagine I'll talk more about later, because that's what's needed here, right? Whenever you're building something new and different that you've never built before, that you don't know how to build it, going fast is not the answer, okay? Missing important information, not the answer. Here, skipping important steps, not the answer. Being unrealistic and idealistic, not the answer here to maneuver these things. Ignoring red flags and what your true needs and values are, not the answer, right? Like, that's what we're going to learn here. And I think we're going to adopt a very different set of beliefs around that full moon in Sagittarius in order to facilitate that. But it is going to take us a while to get that. You know, it is going to take us a full 4 to 6 weeks in order to figure that out. And in between now and then, I think a lot of us are going to be like, what's happening? You know, how do I handle this? And kind of going to be spinning our wheels a little bit as we figure that out and all of that. Okay. That's what I want to say there. Now, anything else I want to note? Sure. Maybe one last thing that I'll note here is that if this is not you, right? If some of you are like, the dust isn't settling in my life and it's definitely not settling in a good way here, if that's where some of you are, or some people that you know are, then what I want to say to you all is you should be in a fairly good place by now, you know, and if you aren't in a fairly good place by now or arriving into a better place, then what that means to me is that something was not done fully or correctly in the days and weeks prior and months prior to this. What should have been done in the days, weeks, and months prior to this, you should have made more changes, especially with Saturn in a square to the nodes. You should have made more changes to end old stuff that you don't like or feel conflicted about, or to begin new things that are much better for you. So if you come to this point in the astrology and you're like, I don't feel good and I don't feel great, and I don't see anything coming together in a good way, then you need to go back to end more things that you don't like, or to change them significantly and to bring more things into your life. Because if you have done that, ended what needed to be ended and begun what needed to begin, now you should be feeling pretty damn good. pretty damn good. Like you've got a good start now to move forward in a distinctly different and better way in your life that you feel rather content about here, even if you don't know what the heck to do with it and how to build it from here on out. So I want you to note that, and you got to go back to do something, but you can go back, right? It's never a bad time to do something you should have already done. You can go back and you can make those adjustments. And then once you do that, you'll end up somewhere around here as we move forward. Okay. What else do I want to say? The other thing I want to say too is that I do feel that this solar eclipse is going to be directly related, obviously, to the next solar eclipse that's going to be in Scorpio around the end of the year, like what, October sometime here, because right, they're all connected. The eclipse is part of the same cycle and things like that. So I also want to note too that whatever you start to realize now and figure out now and over the course, especially of the next month and a half, I think we're going to need to, like Mercury goes direct and the full moon in Sagittarius is, I think, going to have a direct impact as to what does occur at the end of this year in October at that next eclipse. I also want to note as well that I don't feel as favorable about the next solar eclipse as I do about this one, because the next eclipse is going to be on the South Node, which is not typically the best thing, and it's going to be in Scorpio, and Scorpio is really about death and losses here more than it is about fertility and abundance, like Taurus. So I want to say that also too in October, the North Node is going to be conjunct Uranus here, and Uranus doesn't like to be in Taurus here. So I want to note that I do feel that these eclipses are related here, and that if you are able to adopt, I want to note that, a more stable and secure mindset over the course of the next month and a half, that's slower, more practical, more realistic, one step at a time based on your needs and values, that at the solar eclipse in Scorpio, you're going to be a lot better off in October, and you may experience unexpected wins or unexpected gains. But if you do not, over the course of the next month and a half, adopt this more stable approach here, more secure approach, slower approach, then you could be sorely disappointed come October and experience unexpected losses. That can be very devastating as well, which can be breakups in relationships. It can be businesses failing. It can be people pulling out of businesses and of jobs and things like that, problems with finances. So be aware of that a lot of your success or failure in October, I don't think it's set in stone. A lot of your success or failure depends upon how you now manage this new and better experience of life, and how willing you are to be slower, more realistic, more practical here, and to focus more on your needs and values here as you move onwards. That doesn't mean freak out now, right? You've got another month and a half to figure this out. And I think it's going to take this whole month and a half to really realize something quite simple. It's going to take us a whole month and a half to realize something quite simple that I'm telling you right now, and to really get it through our heads and like into our, ourselves. But that is what is going to go on here. And those who get that now are going to be much, much better off come later this year. Okay. But I think that's all I have to say, because that's it. I am now going to pull your card for this time period. Okay. Oh, no, I like to read your inside degree. So we're going to do that. I'm going to pull that up on the screen. I like to read the inside degrees to give you someone else's opinion on the energy other than mine, so that you can see how this might play out. Here, the inside degrees were written by a man named Elias Lonsdale, who I believe channeled the meanings of each of the degrees from spirit. Okay, this new moon solar eclipse in Taurus is at 10 degrees here, and I like 10 degrees, so that's the one I think I'm going to read. I have put 9 degrees Taurus up on the screen, though, in case some of you are curious and would like to read it, because it can also apply, even though I feel like this applies to the weeks prior to this and not where we are right now. It still applies, just past. Where we are now, I think, is 10 degrees Taurus. So I'm going to look at that. It says this: having something to say, a lot to show for your efforts. What does that mean to me? It means to me that at this new moon solar eclipse in Taurus, we are suddenly and unexpectedly realizing that we have a lot to show for all our efforts over the course of the past few months and years to end old things and to begin better things. And it's finally coming together. bringing through archetypal realizations and giving yourself over to all this involves. Not only does this mean to me that we finally have something to show in a good way for all our efforts to end an old chapter in life and to begin a better one, but that we're getting a lot of powerful realizations about this and about what's going on, and we're becoming more willing now to embrace the new chapter in life more fully, more wholeheartedly, giving ourselves over to it. Okay? It says this, the perfect instrument for something new to be revealed. Selfless service, obedient to the gods. That means to me that, right, the divine is also trying to help us out. God, spirit, universe is really trying to help us out at this time, especially because now we're finally where we need to be in order to move forward. It says, played through by visions, pictures, images, impressions that gather to form breathtaking wholes. Someone who has worked upon this faculty for a long time, and now it is quintessentially ripe. What else does that mean? It's now ripe. The time is ripe for new and better experiences and a new and better chapter to now arrive. I don't know how many times I can say that in how many different ways, but I feel like that's just like all over this new moon solar eclipse in Taurus is like, things are good. Now we're in a new experience. Now the time is ripe. Now we're ready to give ourselves over. Yeah. It's coming together through all our past efforts. It says you feel the tremendous surging momentum to say it, name it, evoke the spirit, what needs to be seen, right? And when you name something, it becomes real. To say it and name it, so it's becoming real here, okay? When dazzling gifts are in the works, the destiny is already written in the book of lives. It is simply a matter of getting out of the way, paying attention, become exceedingly disciplined. So what else does that mean to me? It means to me that like good things are happening. Finally, as a result of all our hard work to get us on some new and better chapter in life, the divine is on our side, the divine is helping us, and we need to get out of the way. We need to get out of the way to let the divine help us and to let intuition and spirit give us the insights that we need in order to direct us here as we move forward. And we need to be disciplined. I do think there's a huge message about that with the Taurus influence. We need to be disciplined about how we go about connecting with spirit. Maybe some of you need a more disciplined spiritual practice or something in order to hear that and about how we proceed. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, these are all very good things. A fresh synthesis. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. So I like it. Okay, I also liked Taurus 11 as well a bit, even though I feel like that's probably like a week or so from now that this will kick in or a little bit after, but I liked this one too. So I wanted to read that. Taurus 11 says direct, full on, and unstoppable, pushing for optimal outcomes. You are self-convinced and hard driving, so passionate about your own desire and impulse that anything off to the side is far out of the picture. And all that counts is to have your say to make an impact. What does that mean to me? I think it means to me that a lot of us are really excited about this new and better chapter in life once the dust settles, because I think it's actually arriving in a real way here. And that I think a lot of us are really passionate here to make it work, to figure out in some way how to make this work. Yeah, and we've got a new life force. Look, it says you feel the surge of the power of someone who recognizes that they are bearing a life force that can no longer be put down. Okay. The only thing I might caution about from this inside degree, right, is it says suddenly emerging as rage, need, and craving here. What that indicates to me is that some of you may have a harder time than others tuning into your intuition, into spirit, in order to help you guide the way. And that some of you may want to tell the universe how it needs to be done here instead of let the universe tell you. And there might be a need to watch that. So maybe that's the last thing that I'll say there. I feel like most of us pretty naturally are going to be in touch with our intuition and the divine at this time about our next steps. But I want, this is reminding me here, and I think a lot of us are going to be excited, but this is reminding me here that some of you may not want to connect with intuition and divine, or be overlooking that and still kind of pushing your own agendas here, that you might just need to keep in check a bit over the course of the next month and a half here as we move forward. Because the key is listening to spirit and the divine. Like that is the key here, and relying on their ways and not yours or our human ways. So I think that's it. That's what I'll say there. Because that's it, I'm now going to pull your card for this time period once one calls to me. Okay, here we go. Got one. Okay. Now, your card for this time period is the Two of Wands here, upright. What is this about? The Two of Wands is usually about choices about your next steps and about what you want to do here. And I do see, especially with this Two of Wands, us needing to be very careful about the choices that we make and about how we proceed after this point here, to make sure that, we're not skipping steps, we're not moving too fast, and that we're bringing everything together in a positive way. So I think that's the thought that I get here, is that like this card is saying we're now in a good place, I believe, at this new moon solar eclipse in Taurus, here to move forward in whatever way we want to move, because this person is like stepping up to make a move in whatever direction we want to move after this. And we just need to be very careful about that here to make sure we're choosing the thing that's the most in alignment with us and is going to work. The card at the bottom of the deck is the Hierophant reversed. I'm all for making up your own rules, right? And that's the way sometimes I see the Hierophant reversed. I'm all about making up our own rules, especially with Saturn and Aquarius, and going about this new chapter in life in a unique way, and making decisions that are unique, different than what we've made them before, and that are more authentic to us. But even though I do feel that the Hierophant reversed is about that in a lot of ways, I don't think that means we need to discard traditional ways of doing things entirely, especially not with the Taurus influence, like Taurus is a helpful influence now with the solar eclipse there and with the North Node there. And Taurus does like to do things in a little bit more of a tried and true kind of way. And it is slow to adjust to innovation and things like that. So I think that's another part of the message that I'm getting here, is that a lot of you are now in a very good place with new and better situations with relationships and money to move forward in whatever direction here that you might want to move forward in, which is very good. But choose wisely what you do and how you do these things after this point here, and to make sure you're building them correctly. And the choices that you make do need to be authentic to you, true to you, do need to be maybe choices that you wouldn't have made before, but even though the choices you make do need to be different and I think more authentic to you, it doesn't mean throw tradition out the window. It doesn't mean throw what you've learned and all of the wisdom that you've gathered from old chapters of life out the window as well. Some of that old wisdom may still be useful and applicable to help you figure out what works and what doesn't as you move forward here. Not only that, but I should note too, the Hierophant is reversed, and the Hierophant is the high priest, right? And is like one of the most religious symbols, in the tarot deck, right? Because a high priest usually correlates to like some kind of religious order here. And with it being reversed, what that indicates to me is that some of us, right, I continue to get this message. Some of us may be so excited that we're in a new chapter in life and so hell-bent on, moving it forward in a different, unique way that's more us, because now it's finally here, that you may not only discard wisdom that you've learned from the past in some traditional ways of thinking that can still be helpful at this time, but some of you may lose that connection to the divine, to spirit, to God, as you try to do everything in a unique way. And as you're so excited, and to not do that, really try to remain connected with spirit and with your intuition here throughout the whole process as you move forward, because that is really key. I don't think that we can do what we want to do alone at this time. I really do think we need the divine in order to really help guide us, and for us to connect with that, with so many planets being in Pisces, and of course the opposite point of Pluto being in Cancer at this time. So I just want to say that it's a big message here for some of you, that some of you are going to struggle to connect with the divine here, or ignore the divine, or not do or not do it fully here. I also want to note as well that even though that is a potential at this new moon in Taurus itself, the solar eclipse, I'm actually feeling like that this struggle to connect with the divine might be more of a thing like at the lunar eclipse in Scorpio 2 weeks from now, and at like, I don't know, in Gemini season, I think it might be more of an issue then. So another message that I want to give is to beware of that, because there are some of you, because I like the solar eclipse, like the solar eclipse is in a sextile to Pisces, to Mars and Pisces. So that's another message for some of you, is that some of you now may not struggle with this. Some of you now may be fine here making cautious choices and listening to the divine, but be careful, because some of you may forget that and may lose that connection to the divine as more time goes on here and as the Mercury retrograde actually happens, and to consciously monitor that now and over the course of the next few weeks to make sure that you're constantly going back to source, to intuition, to your spirit, to get renewed and to get that insight that it is that you need here, and to maintain and sustain that connection, because I think that is going to be a huge key here for you as you move forward, and where maybe the biggest potential for downfall may come later on. Okay. And I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful for you. And I hope you have a great solar eclipse. If you like this video, please like it on YouTube, share it with your friends, and I will talk to you on the next one.